Presidential actions guaranteeing fair banking for all Americans. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Financial institutions have engaged in unacceptable practices to restrict law-abiding individuals and businesses' access to financial services on the basis of political or religious beliefs or lawful business activities. Some financial institutions participated in government-directed surveillance programs targeting persons participating in activities and causes commonly associated with conservatism and the political right following the events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. The federal government suggested that such institutions flag individuals who made transactions related to companies like Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop. What the fuck? Really? Bass Pro Shop? Or who made peer-to-peer payments that involved terms like Trump or MAGA. Well, it's a good thing that whenever I sent Tim money for rent, because like I would send him the money and then he would pay through like our rental portal. It's a good thing that I only put slurs in the payment field instead of MAGA, right? Like, even though there was no specific evidence tying those individuals to criminal conduct. Bank regulators have used supervisory scrutiny and other influence over regulated banks to direct or otherwise encourage politicized or unlawful debanking activities. Operation Choke Point, for example, was a well-documented and systemic means by which federal regulators pushed banks to minimize their involvement with individuals and companies engaged in lawful activities and industries disfavored by regulators based on factors other than individualized, objective, risk-based standards. As a result, individuals, their businesses, and their families have been subjected to debanking on the basis of their political affiliations, religious beliefs, or lawful business activities, and have suffered frozen payrolls, debt and crushing interest, and other significant harms to their livelihoods, reputations, and financial well-being. Such practices are incompatible with a free society and the principle that the provision of banking services should be based on material, measurable, and justifiable risks. Such practices, when wielded to discriminate against customers and businesses in credit transactions due to their religion, are also unlawful under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. They further undermine public trust in banking institutions and their regulators, discriminate against political beliefs and free expression of those beliefs, and weaponize a politicized regulatory state. This is really nice to see that there is an actual executive order kind of thing in regards to this. And I would like to believe, since this was barely being talked about, that all of us content creators that encouraged you guys to reach out to your state representatives, and all of the people who did reach out to their state representatives, those state reps hopefully had a part in this being created instead of waiting for the bill to go through a voting process. Mentions payment processors, you think? Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but... Section 2, it is the policy of the United States that no American should be denied access to financial services because of their constitutionally or statutorily protected beliefs, affiliations, or political views, and to ensure that politicized or unlawful debanking is not used as a tool to inhibit such beliefs, affiliations, or political views. Banking decisions must instead be made on the basis of individualized, objective, and risk-based analyses, which is great. I was about to say, I think when they say financial services, that would include payment processors and not just the bank. Not your rep. He replied with an email full of weasel words to neither support nor condemn, aka he was against it. What a candy ass. And hopefully he gets voted out. Remember what he said when he wouldn't support that when you vote next season. Section 3, the term politicized or unlawful debanking refers to an act by a bank, savings association, credit union, or other financial services provider to directly or indirectly adversely restrict access to or adversely modify the conditions of accounts, loans, or other banking products or financial services of any customer or potential customer on the basis of the customer's or potential customer's political or religious beliefs, or on the basis of the customers or potential customers' lawful business activities that the financial service provider disagrees with or disfavors for political reasons. The term federal banking regulations refers to the Small Business Administration and the federal member agencies of the Financial Stability Oversight Council, with supervisory and regulatory authority over banks, saving associations, or credit unions. Section 4, removing reputation risk and politicized or unlawful debanking. Within 180 days of the date of this order, each appropriate federal banking regulator shall, to the greatest extent permitted by law, remove the use of reputation risk or equivalent concepts that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking, as well as any other considerations that could be used to engage in such debanking from their guidance documents, manuals, and other materials, other than existing regulations or other materials requiring notice and comment rulemaking, used to regulate or examine financial institutions over which they have jurisdiction. So back here, they just go back to talking about federal banking regulators. So maybe even though they're using the all-encompassing financial institution language later on and before this, maybe it doesn't include payment processors? I would hope that it does, and maybe they specifically mention them later, but with this language, it does not sound like it includes payment processors. The removal of such concepts shall be made clear by each appropriate federal banking regulator through formal guidance to their examiners. The federal banking regulators shall also consider rescinding or amending existing regulations consistent with applicable law, to eliminate or amend any regulations that could result in politicized or unlawful debanking, and to ensure that any regulated firm's or individual's reputation is considered for regulatory, supervisory, banking, or enforcement purposes solely to the extent necessary to reach a reasonable and apolitical risk-based assessment. The SBA shall, within 60 days of the date of this order, give notice to all financial institutions with which it guarantees loans under its lending programs, requiring that each financial institution is subject to the SBA's jurisdiction and supervision. So this is saying, in addition to everything in Section 4A, people who are rejected loans due to like their political or religious affiliation under the small business associations also have remittance here. Reputation risk is what payment processors are using as their shield. Let's see if that holds, right? Within 120 days of the date of this order, it makes reasonable efforts to identify and reinstate any previous clients of the institution or any subsidiaries denied service through a politicized or unlawful debanking action in violation of a statutory or regulatory requirement under Section 7A of the Small Business Act, or any requirement in a standard operating procedures manual or policy notice related to a program or function of the Office of Capital Access, with notice of the reinstatement sent to the victim. That's also pretty good. They have to send out notices to everybody that was previously debanked. Within 120 days of the date of this order, identifies all potential clients denied access to financial services provided by the financial institution or any subsidiaries through a politicized or unlawful debanking action in violation of a statutory or regulatory requirement under Section 7A of the Small Business Act, or any requirement in a standard operating procedure manual or policy notice related to a program or function of the Office of Capital Access, and provides notice to each victim advising of the denied access and the renewed option to engage in such services previously denied. So not only do they have to provide notice of like, hey, we can't do this anymore, but now they have to give the option of access to the person they previously denied. Ooh, these people are out on their butts, man. That's pretty interesting. With how many people PayPal are throwing off their platform, it seems like they're desperate to get rid of the undesirables before this goes into effect. Doesn't matter. If they go, like, PayPal's not counted as a bank, and I don't see anything in here that would require payment processors to adhere to the same shit. I would like to believe that it would also encompass payment processors, but it doesn't sound like it does. Doesn't sound like it does, which should hopefully be an update onto it. Within 120 days of the date of this order, identifies all potential clients denied access to payment. Oh, okay, well there we go. Now they mention the payment processors, so it is added in later on here. Within 120 days of the date of this order, identifies all potential clients denied access to payment processing services provided by the financial institution or any subsidiaries through a politicized or unlawful debanking action in violation of a statutory or regulatory requirement under Section 7A of the Small Business Act, or any requirement in a standard operating procedures manual or policy notice related to a program or function of the Office of Capital Access, and provides notice to each victim advising of the denied access and the renewed option to engage in such services previously denied. So now, since payment processors are also put on notice, here, anyone who has lost their access to payment processors should be receiving a notice from the payment processors telling them, hey, you now are able to reinstitute payment processing through us. So anybody who was removed from PayPal, removed from Stripe, removed from Cash App, removed from any of those payment processing, and probably even the Visa and MasterCard issues, the game developers might receive notice from them regarding this, because again, they can't use the reputational risk anymore from the wording of this executive order. Section 5, scrutinizing politicized or unlawful debanking. Within 180 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of the Treasury, in consultation with the Assistant to the President for Economic Policy, shall develop a comprehensive strategy for further measures to combat politicized or unlawful debanking activities of financial regulators and financial institutions across the federal government, including consideration of legislative or regulatory options to eliminate such debanking. Within 120 days of the date of this order, each federal banking regulator shall conduct a review to identify financial institutions subject to its jurisdiction that have had any past or current, formal or informal, policies or practices that require, encourage, or otherwise influence such financial institutions to engage in politicized or unlawful debanking, and to take appropriate remedial action. To the extent authorized and consistent with applicable law, including levying fines, issuing consent decrees, or imposing other disciplinary measures against any financial institution subject to the jurisdiction of such federal banking regulator, that such federal banking regulator finds has engaged in politicized or unlawful debanking that violates applicable law, including Section 5 of the FTC's Act 15 U.S.C. 45, Section 1031 of the Consumer Financial Protection Act, and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. So they are closing literally all doors on these people's abilities to discriminate against who they allow access to banking and payment processing, which is wonderful to see. Within 180 days of the date of this order, the federal banking regulators shall review their current supervisory and complaint data to identify any financial institution that has engaged in unlawful debanking on the basis of religion, and if such financial institution is unable to obtain compliance within the meaning of 15 U.S.C. 1691 and 1691E, refer such matters to the Attorney General for an appropriate civil action as appropriate. Section 6, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or the functions of the director of the office management and budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. Orders not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, officers, employees, agents, or any other person. The costs for publication of this order shall be borne by the Small Business Administration. This was penned by Donald Trump on August 7th, so very recently. The sheer backlog will fuck them hard. Oh yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. It will depend on if and how it is actually enforced. Yeah. For things coming out of Japan, I don't know how much it would affect those, because this is specifically about the United States. So video game developers do have recourse under this, but I wonder if they only have recourse if they've been denied access by payment processors if they are US based. So we'd love to see if Visa and MasterCard continue to discriminate on legal purchases. You would love to see what kind of teeth this order has, or if antitrust suit will go into effect. I would also love to see it. Does this stop the collective shout morality policing, or just politics-based policing? Also an interesting question, because it does specifically mention discrimination based on political or religious affiliation. So I don't think smut would be covered under either of those things. I don't think smut would be covered. And I'm also thinking, like, the Kiwi Farms debanking issue is also not based on religious or political affiliation. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's based on the reputation of, like, being a harassment ? Campaign. And I would say, yeah, I would have disagreed with that years ago, but seeing how crazy some of the newer users are, Kirsche is gonna have another fight on his hands, I would imagine. Smut 100% should be covered. Yeah, but it doesn't mention that in here. Your religion is anime thighs and you're being discriminated against while trying to acquire your holy book. U.S. Congressman Andy Barr, representing the 6th District of Kentucky. I don't live there, so I don't know what fucking district that is, but maybe this is your guy. Barr announces introduction of bill to codify President Trump's debanking executive order.
President Trump himself,
there we go.
And President Trump's family. But I'll tell you, President Trump's leadership on this issue is not just because it happened to him. He's trying to prevent this from happening to law-abiding Americans. And I applaud him for that. And Senator Scott and I are working on this to make sure that all Americans have access to the banking system. Banks should not be red or blue, Democrat or Republican, but we've seen big banks basically do the bidding of the Democratic National Committee over and over again. And look at crypto, the crypto industry under the Biden administration. The Biden administration targeted digital assets and law-abiding crypto businesses. And so many of these innovative entrepreneurs were denied basic banking services, and it pushed a lot of this innovation offshore. So I am so proud to be working shoulder to shoulder with President Trump to fix this problem and end the discrimination that we see by federal banking regulators and prevent banks from doing this to law-abiding Americans.
Good going, Kentucky men. Now, how do we tell these boomers to stop targeting porn? True. There's a little archive article that says, Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday aimed at eliminating practices by banks and their regulators that result in certain customers being denied access to financial services for ideological reasons. The order directs federal banking regulators to remove reputational risk standards from their guidance and training materials and identify financial institutions that engaged in unlawful debanking in the past. Federal authorities are also directed to impose fines or take other remedial measures they deem appropriate on institutions that are found to have had such policies. Regulators will also be required to review compliant data and refer instances of unlawful debanking based on religion to the Justice Department. Financial institutions under the jurisdiction of the Small Business Administration will also be required to make reasonable efforts to reinstate clients who are unlawfully denied services. Trump believes that no American should be denied access to financial services because of their political or religious beliefs, and that banking decisions must solely be made on the basis of individualized, objective, and risk-based analysis, the White House said. Some of the nation's biggest banks have been accused by the Trump administration of shutting customer accounts for political or religious reasons, and many conservatives have complained that major Wall Street firms have debanked gun makers, fossil fuel companies, religious groups, and cryptocurrency firms. Trump signed the order alongside an action designed to increase access to alternative assets, such as private equity, real estate, and cryptocurrency in retirement accounts Thursday afternoon. At the White House, details of this debanking executive order were reported earlier by Fox Business. Trump earlier this week said banks had discriminated against him in the past. JP Morgan Chase & Co. had asked him to close accounts he held for decades within 20 days. And Bank of America declined his attempt to deposit more than $1 billion, he said in a CNBC interview. Regulators in the Biden administration had been ordered to destroy Trump, the president said. Both JP Morgan and Bank of America have denied rejecting business on ideological grounds. The executive order requires the lenders to examine their processes for deciding whether to close accounts and ask regulators to remove references to so-called reputational risk posed by customers, a practice banks have said led to decisions not to deal with certain customers or industries. Bank of America, the second largest U.S. bank, had restricted lending to companies that make assault-style guns used for non-military purposes. What does that even mean? What is that even? That is nonsense. Following shootings at a high school in Florida in 2018, Citigroup Inc. also announced its own set of restrictions for clients selling guns that year. Bank of America went on to loosen its gun restriction and made similar changes to its energy lending policies, including dropping a blanket ban on financing for Arctic drilling. That in June, Citigroup ended a 7-year policy that placed restrictions on firearm sales by its retail sector clients, citing recent legislative developments and concerns over access to banking services. Bills have been reintroduced in Congress this year that would prohibit banks from accessing certain lending programs if they deny fair access to their services. The Fair Access to Banking Act has gained support from groups in the firearm industry. It should gain support from literally fucking everyone. Nobody should be denied access to the economy, essentially, for any of their sort of, like, political or religious beliefs. A Attorney General Bondi orders prosecutors to start grand jury probe into Obama officials over Russia investigation. So, apparently, and I guess this might be part of, like, why Trump has been so weird about the Epstein files, question mark? I don't want to give him that much benefit of the doubt, because, like, just release that fucking shit, holy crap. But he's been saying that, like, part of it has been a Democrat hoax, and apparently they're now investigating Obama. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. I don't know what the fuck is happening. It says, Attorney General Pam Bondi directed federal prosecutors to launch a grand jury investigation into accusations that member of the Obama administration manufactured intelligence about Russia's 2016 election interference. A source familiar with the matter told CNN. A grand jury would be able to issue subpoenas as part of a criminal investigation into renewed allegations that Democratic officials tried to smear Donald Trump during his 2016 campaign by falsely alleging his campaign was colluding with the Russian government. It could also consider an indictment should the Justice Department decide to pursue a criminal case. The move follows a referral from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who declassified documents in July that she alleges undermine the Obama administration's conclusion that Russia tried to help Trump defeat Hillary Clinton. I also want to point out, this article is literally on CNN. This is an article on CNN, which is, what the fuck is even happening anymore? Gabbard requested that the Justice Department investigate former President Barack Obama and top officials in his administration for an alleged conspiracy. Soon after Gabbard's referral, Bondi announced that the DOJ was creating a strike force to assess the evidence released by Gabbard and investigate potential next legal steps, which might stem from DNI Gabbard's disclosures. The Justice Department declined to comment. CNN has reported that the allegations from Gabbard misrepresent what the intelligence community concluded over Russia's attempts to influence the 2016 election. While Gabbard insisted the Russian goal in 2016 was to sow distrust in American democracy and not to help Trump, the unsealed documents don't undercut or alter the U.S. government's core findings in 2017 that Russia launched a campaign of influence and hacking and sought to help Clinton lose. Holy shit, man. What is happening? Wasn't that the same intelligence community that said the Biden laptop was fake? Yes, it was. CNN didn't wake up. The Democrat checks might just be bouncing. I think, like, because the end says, well, CNN thinks this is all bullshit, right? Like, this is what the end said. So maybe CNN's posting this as like, oh, this is just another far-right conspiracy theory, right? The court cancels consumer-friendly click-to-cancel rule. A federal appeals court has blocked enforcement of an FTC rule that prohibited companies from making it any more difficult for consumers to cancel than it was to sign up for unwanted subscriptions, memberships, and auto renewals. The U.S. Court of Appeals in St. Louis vacated the click-to-cancel rule just days before the July 14th enforcement date, deciding that the FTC had not followed proper procedure, as alleged by several business groups, an assertion that the FTC rejected previously. The court's ruling noted that it did not endorse the use of unfair and deceptive practices in negative option marketing. I just don't believe you, court, by the way. Disbar all these judges. Can we just clean house? Can we just get rid of all judges and get new ones in? Because I feel like every time I read something about a judge, I just lose more faith in our justice system, unironically. The FTC has not commented on the ruling. A spokesperson told Checkbook the commission is considering its options. But because the commission is now chaired by a Republican who voted against the rule last year, for why? It's unlikely the FTC will appeal the court's ruling. The second Trump administration, in general, has not supported new rules aimed at improving consumer protections. Someone get this guy. Get this guy a harshly worded letter. Erin Witt, Director of Consumer Protection at the Consumer Federation of America, who strongly supported the rule, shared her reaction on X. Apparently, hearing from 16,000 actual people about their subscription traps was not sufficient, because the corporations who profit from subscription traps didn't get enough chances to say how much they didn't want to stop subscription trapping. Airtight American logic. Subscription programs are available for everything from streaming services and gym memberships to automatic shipments of cosmetics and nutritional supplements. They can provide substantial consumer benefits, such as free shipping, discounted prices, convenience, and special offers. I'm gonna hit you with the discounted prices are a scam. So When you have a website that's like, sign up for VIP and get special VIP pricing, that special VIP pricing is typically roughly around the real price of the product. And so if you don't sign up for their subscription service, you're paying a massive fucking premium. That like $15 item might become like $49.99 because they want you to get that subscription. And they want you to forget about that subscription so they can keep collecting their payments month after month. The FTC won't let me be me, so let me see. True. Thank you, Eminem. But as Checkbook previously reported, the FTC created the rule after receiving thousands of complaints a year about the tedious and time-consuming roadblocks customers encountered when trying to cancel subscriptions. The rule required companies to make it as easy to cancel as it was to sign up, the same process and the same number of steps. If it took one click online to subscribe, then it had to be one click to unsubscribe. If a customer signed up on the phone, the company had to allow them to cancel with a phone call. I think my biggest issue are the companies that make it so you have to call to cancel. There should always be a way to cancel in your account information. I should not have to call and sit on hold with a customer service rep for God knows how long to cancel my subscription to anything. Sign up for VIP prices, pay the actual cost of the product with a nominal markup instead of a grossly marked up price. And I don't want to see the consumer landscape become just that, right? It just seems like it'd be really silly to have a paid for subscription for anywhere you shop in order to get better pricing. Companies that offered subscriptions would also be required to clearly and conspicuously disclose important information, including the amount of recurring charges and the frequency, the deadline to cancel, and when the initial price might increase. When the rule took effect in October 24, enforcement was delayed until July to accommodate businesses. Consumer advocates felt it confident it would make a significant difference in the marketplace. This is what I'm worried about with the foreclosures as well, right? The mass foreclosures and the FHA was supposed to stop paying for people's mortgages, right? They're supposed to stop paying the lender for mortgages that haven't been making payments. That was supposed to stop. The FHA was supposed to stop doing that in April of this year. And then, for some reason, the Trump administration pushed it back to September of this year, even though it had already gotten pushed back from, like, September 2024 to April 2025. So there was already a buffer time. But now it's pushed back to, like, September, October this year. And it's just like, if that gets pushed back again, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Continuing to allow the FHA to pay for people's mortgages who aren't paying for them is an insult to everyone paying taxes. At the time, Shannon Kavanaugh, director of litigation at the nonprofit National Consumer Law Center, said the common sense provisions of the rule would ensure consumers were not unwittingly having money taken straight out of their bank accounts for services or products they no longer wish to use. So what now? How do you protect yourself? While this is a setback for those who supported the rule, the good news is that many companies, particularly those where you can sign up for subscriptions online, have already moved to more transparent policies. Teresa Murray, consumer watchdog at USPIRG, wrote in a blog post, "They're not expected to retreat and change their interfaces, at least not in the near term." One reason many companies already shifted toward consumer-friendly cancellation policies is that California and New York enacted state laws that provide similar protections to those that would have been required by the FTC's rule. Well, that's pretty helpful. But in any state, consumers must be careful when signing up for a subscription or recurring purchases. PIRG suggests know what you're agreeing to by reading all the terms and conditions. Look for pre-checked boxes that require you to agree to terms or conditions that are not mentioned in advertising, such as additional charges or ongoing email promotions. Uncheck any boxes you disagree with. If you subscribe to something, whether it's for 1 month or 1 year, put the cancellation date on your calendar and create a reminder to cancel ahead of the date so you don't miss it. I just tell my mods, I'm like, hey mods, remind me to cancel. If you cancel, try to remove credit card information from your account to ensure you won't be charged for another billing cycle. Personally, whenever a website asks me for my credit card information, as annoying and obnoxious as it is to have to input your information every time you make a purchase, especially if it's a website you frequent, I feel much better manually putting in my information for a purchase every single time than allowing a website to save my info. So if a website allows you the option of either saving or manually inputting every single time, I will choose manual every time. I do not want websites to save my info. I think I finished reading this. Yeah, credit card information. Beware of free trial offers. Dude, I hate this shit. I would be so much more willing to get a free trial if I didn't have to enter my credit card information, but like, because they ask for that information, I'm like, I'm too dumb to remember to cancel this shit, so no thank you. I've had fucking Uber charge me for that shit, and I've had to be like, oh no, customer service, I forgot to cancel, please cancel this. Lawsuit filed after California girl 10 kidnapped by man she met online. A new lawsuit was filed in San Mateo County Court on behalf of a 10-year-old California girl who was allegedly kidnapped by a 27-year-old man whom she met online. Roblox and Discord, two popular online gaming apps, are named as defendants in the suit. So I think this is really interesting, right? Because typically I would be like, well, you can't hold the platforms accountable for someone getting kidnapped. That's a failing of their parents and not monitoring their child's online activity. But when you have the CEO advocating for it being a dating app, I'm kind of like, well, maybe this is the wake-up call that he needs, you know? The 10-year-old girl was an avid user of both apps for several years, attorneys said. She relied heavily on the apps for entertainment and social interaction, making her a prime target for the countless child predators that defendants knew were freely roaming the app, looking for vulnerable children. I don't know what the TOS states for, like, ages on Discord, but there is zero reason as a parent you should let your 10-year-old have a Discord. Zero fucking reason, right? Like, regardless of whatever their TOS says, because I don't know what TOS age is for Discord. I'm pretty sure it's 13 plus. I don't think even a 13-year-old really has any reason to have a Discord, you know? Like that's not where you belong. Mom and dad doing their job. In April, 27-year-old Matthew Makatuno Naval posed as a child online and developed a friendship with the girl through Roblox. The lawsuit filed on Monday claims. Naval later moved the conversation to Discord, where the child, after being groomed and manipulated, shared her home address. This is another thing that seems really fucking lost on the newer generations. I can't blame her too much, she's fucking 10, but at 10, I knew this. You don't give out your information to people online. Online people scary. You don't tell them your real name, you don't give them your phone number, you don't give them your address. Why is this not drilled into people anymore? Could it be because governments really want us to have our real IDs attached to everything we do online, and so they don't teach kids to be careful with it anymore, and so that they can use kids giving out their information as a reason to have more censorship and restrictions? Probably. Maybe my tinfoil's too tight. Who knows? But I feel like we should really be bringing back teaching kids, don't fucking tell anyone jack shit online, bro. On April 13th, 2025, Naval abducted the girl from her home in Taft, California. She was eventually found hundreds of miles away in his vehicle in Elk Grove after a frantic multi-agency search. After driving the girl to Elk Grove, Naval attempted to check into a hotel with the victim, but he was denied accommodations, according to the suit. And see, this is where things get a little weird, right? Because, like, when I check into hotels, I don't even have to go to the front desk anymore. I can check in on my phone. They don't know who I am. They never see me. I can literally spend a week or more at a hotel. They never see my face. They never see my card. They never see my ID. They just take my payment at the end, right? So in current year, getting denied accommodations is incredibly fucking suspicious. What about hotel key card? Yeah, I mean, you have like an app, so like they know who you are if you destroyed the room, but it's like I could book a room for someone else, have them go to the hotel and check in with the app under my name, and the hotel would literally never know that I was never there, because you can do it all through your phone now. So I'm wondering what kind of like criminal background or weird vibes this guy was giving off to get denied at a hotel. He's probably already on a list. I guess thankfully child predators are kind of fucking dumb in this case, right? Because maybe he went to the front desk with the child and was like, I need a room. And the fucking employee rightfully was like, damn, this is suspicious. Probably didn't want to get traced, so he didn't want to do it online. I mean, even then, the times where I go to the front desk to check in, I've never been asked for my ID. I've just been like, oh yes, I'm here for a room. And they're just like, do you have a reservation? I'm like, yes, this is my last name. And they're like, okay, you're in. So it's like, if they're not checking my ID, in theory, I could send somebody else in and have them say they're me, and they would get the room. I was like, there's not exactly crazy protections here, you know? The girl's parents reported her missing to police. Officers later found the girl inside the man's car while she was in a state of distress. The alleged predator was arrested by police and is currently facing criminal charges. Finally, at least something is done. This case is horrifying, and it's a natural consequence of how the platforms choose to operate, said Alexandria Walsh, a partner at Anapol Vice. Roblox Corporation is headquartered in San Mateo, and Discord is headquartered in San Francisco. The lawsuit claims that a large number of predators troll through the platforms. In Roblox's 2023 annual report, the company reported an average of 68.5 million daily active users, with 21% under 9 years of age, and 21% from 9 to 12 years of age. As, like, I've been saying it for years. Anyone who plays Roblox, that's fucking suspicious. If you're not a child, you should not be playing Roblox. Like, hard stop. Had defendants implemented even the most basic system of age and identity verification, plaintiff would never have engaged with this predator and never been harmed. Absolutely not. Absolutely, this is the parents' fault. You are responsible for parenting your child. I don't think adults should be playing Roblox, but it's not like you can prevent them from doing so. Why are parents never held accountable? Because it's more fun to try and sue companies for an easy payday than to actually parent your children. They're trying to use this to push Real ID online, and I don't think we should have Real ID. I don't want to believe, like, I think Asman said that Real ID is inevitable. I don't want to believe that, so maybe I am naive. But I really don't want to have that implemented by and large. The suit states defendants prioritize growing the number of users of their apps over child safety. A former Roblox employee is quoted in the lawsuit saying, "You have to make a decision, right? You can keep your players safe, but then it would be less of them on the platform. Or you just let them do what they want to do and the numbers all look good and investors will be happy." I mean, beyond that, it's not the job of Roblox to ensure that your children don't give out their personal information to people online. That's not Roblox's problem. It's like their reputation is gonna suffer, and then it'll become their problem. But like, parents should be teaching their kids the dangers of this shit. The lawsuit claims gross negligence and defectively designed apps are putting children at risk of becoming the victims. Attorneys said they're seeking to hold the tech companies accountable for creating and maintaining an online environment where child predators thrive unchecked. How would you define this? How would you define an environment where child predators thrive unchecked unless you are also arguing that everyone needs identification in order to participate in these things, right? Like you could literally say this about Twitter or about Facebook or about fucking Kiwi Farms, right? Like you can't make sure children are in some sort of little protected bubble. It falls on the parents to parent their children. You can't ensure that creepy perverted fucks aren't going to act like creepy perverted fucks. Because if they cared about the law, they just wouldn't be creepy perverted fuck. Problem is that Roblox is banning bot filters that are banning sexual content. See, that's kind of weird. I don't know why you spammed it like 7 fucking times, but that is kind of weird. It has never been expected or ever talked about by literally anybody or have any major steps towards it. Again, that's not true. There haven't been any major steps towards it outside of the UK. I think the biggest thing I can think of as a major step towards any kind of online identification was when it was proposed in the UK to blanket ban nationally all porn sites. And if you wanted to access porn through your internet distributor, you would have to call them and verify your identity for them to unblock porn sites for you. I don't think that ever actually went through in the UK, but that was a conversation that was happening, I want to say back in like 2014, 2016, somewhere around there. On Thursday, a Roblox spokesperson told Cron4, "We are deeply troubled by any incident that endangers our users, and safety is a top priority. We dedicate substantial resources, including advanced technology and 24/7 human moderation, to help detect and prevent inappropriate content and behavior, including attempts to direct users off-platform where safety standards and moderation may be less stringent than ours." The company spokesperson continued, "While no system is perfect, Roblox has implemented rigorous safeguards, including restrictions on sharing personal information, links, and user-to-user image sharing, and prohibiting sexual conversations." I feel like this would have been a huge benefit to, like, Gaia Online back in the day. It's a miracle I managed to get through my childhood on Gaia Online and not get groomed by anyone, to be fair. Roblox announced new tools in July to improve communication features depending on a user's age. One big change is the introduction of age estimation technology that helps confirm users' ages. Roblox said it is investing in age estimation technology to help deliver developmentally appropriate experiences and protect users from those who might seek to do harm. Another big change was Roblox's decision to rename friends of users to connections. That doesn't really seem like a big change, I'm going to be honest with you. Spanish town bans Muslim religious festivals, provoking a furious outcry as migrant tensions threaten to boil over after nearby town was rocked by riots. A Spanish town has become the first in the country to ban Muslims from using public facilities to celebrate religious Eid festivals, just weeks after a nearby area was rocked by anti-migrant riots. The controversial ban was passed in Jamia, a town in the Murcia region. I'm bad at pronouncing your names, I'm sorry. With a population of around 27,000, roughly 7.5% of whom come from majority Muslim countries. The motion was proposed by Spain's Conservative People's Party and backed by the hard-right Vox Party. It prohibits public facilities such as sports halls and civic centers being used for religious, cultural, or social activities alien to our identity. Fucking good on you, Spain. What a beautiful thing to read. Unless officially organized by the local council. It comes less than a month after several people were left injured during an anti-migrant rioting in Torre Pacheco, just 70 miles from Jumia, where a pensioner was reportedly beaten up by 3 Moroccan men. A 68-year-old man told Spanish media he was beaten up in the street on July 9th by 3 young men of North African origin. Amid the announcement on the latest ban, critics have said the wording is a thinly veiled attack on Islamic traditions, and have warned that the ruling could breach Spain's constitutionally protected freedom of religion. Spain has had enough! And I don't think it's a thinly veiled attack on Islamic traditions. It is a overt, loud attack on those traditions, saying they do not belong here. They do not mesh with our national identity. Stop it. So it's a very interesting thing Spain is doing here. The local Vox party openly celebrated the decision, declaring on X, "Thanks to Vox, the first measure to ban Islamic festivals in Spain's public spaces has been passed. Spain is and will forever be the land of Christian people." I guess these are videos. There's some stuff here, some pictures. The move prevents Muslims in Jumia from gathering in public gyms or civic buildings to celebrate Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan, and Eid al-Adha, the Islamic festival of sacrifice. I don't know where the word music came from in my brain. Muslim leaders have condemned the decision. Munir Benjolin Andalusi Azari, president of the Spanish Federation of Islamic Organizations, said the ban was a direct attack on the country's Muslim population, calling it Islamophobic and discriminatory. "They're not going after other religions, they're going after ours," he told Spanish newspaper El País. Well, the problem is that Islam is not just a religion, it is also a form of, like, government and law. Spain was conquered by the Muslims for years. They have a weird history. If you recall, their government was freed from tyranny back in the 70s. Interesting. Don't like it, leave. Referring to the recent rise of racist rhetoric and attacks, he added, "We're rather surprised by what's happening in Spain. For the first time in 30 years, I feel afraid." Legal experts have warned the ban could face a constitutional challenge. Article 16 of Spain's constitution grants freedom of religious belief, with the only restriction being the protection of public order. The socialist leader of Mercuria, Francisco Lucas, accused the PP of stoking division. The PP violates the Constitution and puts social cohesion at risk, simply in the pursuit of power. Former Jumia Mayor Juana Guardiola, also from the Socialist Party, condemned the rhetoric behind the ban. There's a little map. There's some people. Why is this person... The crowd gathered on July 14th reportedly chased people they suspected to be immigrants and clashed with members of Spain's Guardia Civil. Why is this guy wearing a BDSM dog gimp mask? I think is my biggest question. Like, he looks like a fucking bear, so he looks like he would be the one holding the leash, not wearing the mask, honestly. What do they mean by identity? And what about the centuries of Muslim legacy here, she said. Ah! I think you know what the fuck they mean when they say the Muslim public festivals clash with Spain's identity. You know what they mean. Don't play fucking dumb. The attack on the pensioner by 3 Moroccan men last month sparked violent riots that lasted for several days. Despite a major police presence in the town, groups of people gathered on the streets armed with batons. They were reportedly looking for foreigners. The regional newspaper Opinión de Murcia, I keep pronouncing that Mercuria, but I'm pretty sure it's Murcia, reported at the time. Authorities found posts that had incited a planned hunt for migrants on July 15th, 16th, and 17th. Murcia delegate Mariola Guevara said that the so-called hunt beginning a day early. All right, that's kind of weird. Remember when people said that we were gonna have like hunts in the streets? I don't know. That's a little strange. That's a little strange to me. Legacy, you probably don't want to bring up the Muslim legacy in Spain. Yeah, I feel like that would be a questionable thing to do. A demonstration was organized by the town hall intended to be peaceful, was later hijacked by people shouting anti-migrant slogans. Average people have had a fucking enough. And also anti-migrant. It's... What are the migrants? The migrants are typically here illegally. They don't have process, and half the time you don't even know who the fuck they are because they don't have papers. What do you mean by this? Almost 100 additional police officers were reportedly deployed to the town to shore up the security situation, with videos showing armed riot cops patrolling the streets. But Jumila's history is steeped in Islamic heritage. Oh boy. Once part of the Roman Empire, the town fell to Arab rule in the 8th century, becoming known as Umil-La. It remained largely Arab until the 13th century, when it was conquered by Christian forces under King Alfonso X of Castile. So it was conquered by the Arabs, and then it was reconquered and taken from the Arabs. So I think the question here is, do people want, if some place is conquered, do people want those who were conquered to continue living normally or live under the conqueror's rules? I guess would be the question to ask them. Conquered, more like liberated. What are they smoking here? Liberated by the fawns. How did King Alfonso have an X account in the 13th century? He was ahead of his time. An agreement, the capitulations of Alcatraz, initially allowed for coexistence, but Arab rule was eventually crushed after Alfonso's death. Are they phrasing this as like a good thing or a bad thing? Because like that would be a good thing, would it not, for the country of Spain to fully reclaim their land? Like, what do you mean? The move comes amid growing concerns across Europe about the treatment of religious minorities, with Spain now joining a broader debate about identity, integration, and the boundaries of secularism. Earlier this year, a primary school in Hampshire, UK, sparked fury after scrapping its annual Easter celebration and service in order to respect diverse religious beliefs. Yeah, see, no. Easter, being a Christian tradition, and the UK being a Christian nation, it makes sense to have that in their school. If I went to like Saudi Arabia and decided I'm going to raise children in Saudi Arabia, and then they went to school and then they had celebrations for like Eid and I don't know, all the other Muslim holidays, it wouldn't be weird because that's what they do in their country. That would just be normal. It would be weird of me to be like, hello there, native Saudi Arabians. I'm a foreigner in your country, raising foreign children in your country, and I demand you stop celebrating your holidays in your schools. That would be fucking weird. Norwood Primary School in Eastleigh sent a letter to parents and carers in March informing them that neither their Easter bonnet parade nor their Easter service will be held this year. A little weird. Head teacher Stephanie Mander, who wrote the letter, explained that this is because of the state school's respect for diversity and its aim to create a more inclusive atmosphere. I mean, that's a wonderful notion and all, but all you're going to do is basically remove traditions and heritage and culture from the native children, which, Why would you do that? All right, so this is the Veritas thing people were talking about. Bill Barr's secret meetings to plot prosecutions of Trump and block his political comment. This is part 2. This was a day ago. I don't know when part 1 happened, but let's fucking see.
It's very easy to know why I am being prosecuted and no one else. It's being charged or prosecuted. It's very easy. I called the FBI to report Bill Barr and Armstrong Williams. I have notes of every single meeting. One meeting can be about visa for someone, or another meeting can be about January 6th or RICO case. I have a quote here that was like, Barr believes the FBI will go to Trump House soon. And one thing that I heard a lot is like how they go to prevent America to have Trump again. One thing that I learned very fast and very in the beginning is like, Bill Barr is someone extremely important. And I remember the biggest conversation they had at that point, it is like, what kind of charge that we can bring against Trump? And that's when Bill Barr, and I will never forget that, Bill Barr was like, we should bring RICO because it's a very difficult type of charge to defend.
Operation of a shadow government, secret meetings. Is it just going to be this one woman this whole time?
This powerful friends. He's friends with like Bill Barr. He's friends with Ben Carson. He's friend with the mayor of DC, and he has like all this list of powerful people and people like with a lot of money.
I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like if you're in a government position and you don't have powerful connections, that's more of a red flag than if you do, considering the amount of people you probably talk to in that position. I don't really know what she's trying to say by that one here.
They do some business together. All the time Armstrong needs something, he calls Bill Barr. Like can be, for example, approve a visa for someone, he calls Bill Barr. Or, for example, do some kind of lobbying with, for example, Turkish Airlines, he calls Bill Barr. Bill Barr is like the person that we call to resolve any kind of problems or situations.
What? They're not gonna read this? During her employment with Armstrong Williams, Patricia recorded notes from numerous high-level meetings. And then it has a screenshot of a message that says, "You took my documents and phones and never returned them. And now you think you can move against me. Let me be clear, your time is running out." But is this from her or was this sent to her? She was repeatedly instructed to hand over these notes and faced threats to ensure their return. Please hand over all the documents, notes, and phones you have. Armstrong could send someone to your house at any moment, and we're willing to pay for them, so you can move on with your life peacefully. If you do this, we can all go our separate ways without further, and it cuts off. That's kind of scary. If I got a text message like that, I'd immediately talk to authorities. Holy shit. Patricia Lales has been sued numerous times in Brazil and in the US for lying. She lied about fucking Eduardo Bolsonaro. She lied about giving birth by photoshopping her face onto some other woman's photo. And she also said her husband bought a house in the US and it was a lie. It was a house on Zillow that she just photoshopped and the owner got mad. There are numerous other examples. So what you're saying is this woman is just a liar? Like she just lies about everything? Is that who this woman is? A whistleblower has provided. Just says a whistleblower, it doesn't say her name. She's a pathological liar, the queen shit talker. We need to make sure this woman's protected. Is anybody mentioning her in the comments? Nobody's really talking about who this woman is. I thought it was very funny. Well, while I'm reading this article, chat, remember what bridge is, and remember how communists and Marxists took over our institutions in the first place. Congressional Democrats asked Trump administration to stop Doge employees from moving into permanent positions. A group of Democrats in Congress is seeking to stop Department of Government Efficiency employees from moving into permanent positions in the federal government, penning a letter asking for more information on Doge's presence within agencies after Elon Musk's exit earlier this year. Although Elon Musk has departed, his influence remains, as Doge and its employees attempt to become a permanent part of the federal government, scattered across agencies where they can continue to sabotage key functions from within. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, along with Rep. Robert Garcia of California, wrote in a letter late Wednesday. I feel like if Pocahontas, whoever the fuck from Connecticut, and anyone in California are telling you that people are going to sabotage things, you need more of those people. Because when these three people say that, hey, sabotage for our plans is gonna happen, you should be like, yes, we want to sabotage anything you weird freaks are doing. Writing to Office of Personnel Management Director Scott Kupor and Office Management and Budget Director Russell Vought, the Democratic senators and ranking member on the House Oversight Committee sought more information on how Doge has embedded itself in the federal government. You know, it's really funny how these progressive style people who promote all of these policies that align with what the Marxist takeover of the institutions have wanted are now saying, we need to prevent Doge employees from embedding itself in the federal government, much like these ideologues have done. The lawmakers called Doge's continued presence in federal agencies alarming, outlining in the letter, obtained exclusively by CBS News, that employees are embedding themselves in the federal government in key agency positions, which they argue threatens the government's ability to serve the American people, while alluding to potential violations of civil service laws. No. People from Doge trying to reduce waste from you freaks is what the American people want. The people you are claiming are going to cause issues for your plans are what we want as well. Kupor refuted the lawmakers' characterization of the civil service hiring process in a statement to CBS News, saying OPM reviews all requests to appoint current or recent political appointees to career roles for compliance with merit system principles and civil service laws, while noting that all federal hires undergo required background checks, ethic reviews, and suitability screenings. No Doge-affiliated individuals have unlawfully burrowed into career roles, Kupor said. We welcome oversight grounded in facts. And I think it's extra funny and an extra layer of irony that a lot of these people have wiggled their way, have burrowed their way into career roles in the government. And now, when the government wants to prevent that from happening, they accuse these other people of doing exactly what they did. That's pretty fucking crazy. The Democrats' request comes as Doge's presence in Washington has changed shape since Musk left his role as a special government employee in late May, when he reached the maximum amount of time he could serve in the position. President Trump thanked Musk and all of his people at the time, saying almost all of them are staying and they're going to be with us, and you're going to see the results coming long into the future. Musk pledged upon his departure that this is not the end of Doge, but really the beginning. The Tesla CEO began the cost-cutting effort in January and had initially pledged to cut $2 trillion of government spending, but later lowered the benchmark to $1 trillion. At the time of Musk's departure, the White House said Doge efforts saved roughly $170 billion in spending, which is a pretty far cry off from $1 trillion, but, you know, baby steps. That figure has been disputed with a number of errors and miscalculations on the initiative's wall of receipts. Since Musk left the role, Doge has continued to post about its cost-cutting. A recent review by CBS News found that the claims about saving appear to be significantly overstated. Still, Musk pledged when he left the job that Doge is like a way of life and would be permeating throughout the government to secure $1 trillion in savings over time. Meanwhile, Vought outlined at a House Appropriations Committee hearing in June that the vision for Doge going forward would be far more institutionalized at the actual agency, saying many Doge employees are functioning almost as in-house consultants as a part of the agency's leadership. The leadership of Doge, Vought said, is now much more decentralized. For some, questions have remained about how the effort would continue to shape government agencies. Writing to Vought and Kupor, the Democratic lawmakers sought answers to a number of questions, including who currently leads Doge and queries about the presence of Doge employees within the federal government more broadly. They're just upset that a lot of the DEI shit is being targeted, I'm sure. The lawmakers said that converting Doge appointees to career federal service roles could potentially run afoul of laws that explicitly ban political considerations and loyalty tests in hiring practices. adding that it is unclear who newly embedded Doge staff are accountable to, and if they truly serve within the chain of command of the agencies they work for. They urged OPM to enforce civil service regulations that prohibit political patronage in government hiring. What an interesting thing for the Democrats to desire. Pot meat kettle, truly. Shooter dead, officer injured at Emory University after terrified students were forced into lockdown as gunshots rang out. A gunman is dead after opening fire at Georgia's Emory University Friday afternoon, spraying bullets at a police cruiser in a nearby CDC headquarters building, leaving one officer injured according to police and photos. The suspect died after the frightening shooting that prompted students to shelter in place on the last day of the summer term. There's no ongoing threat to the Emory campus or the surrounding neighborhood, police said in an updated alert on X around 6:45 p.m. Yeah, damn, that was like less than half an hour ago, man. The incident involved a single shooter who is now deceased. One law enforcement officer was injured in the course of the response. The Atlanta school issued an urgent alert shortly after 5 p.m., reporting an active shooter near the Emory Point CVS on campus and urging all students to run and hide. A rapid barrage of gunfire can be heard in horrifying social media videos. That's quite a few shots. Oh my. Yeah, that's quite a lot. Saying he believed he was sick from the COVID vaccine and was targeting the CDC. Then why was he at Emory? In one video filmed by a nearby resident, 8 gunshots ring out, followed by a brief pause, and then more than a dozen pop in rapid succession. Sounded like fireworks going off, one right after the other. Brandy Giraldo, the owner of a nearby deli, told the Associated Press. A post from the school that advised students to shelter in place at the Atlanta Police Department responded to the 1760 Clifton Road, close to where the CVS referred to in the bulletin is located. Lockdown was lifted by 6:30 p.m. Police swarmed Emory Point in the main campus of the CDC, Fox 5 reported, while chilling photos shared on social media showed bullet holes piercing the windows of the health agency's headquarters, located right next to the university. One police cruiser at the scene also appeared to have been hit by about a dozen gunshots to its windshield and hood. It remains unknown how the suspect died. The condition of the injured officer is also unclear. One photo taken at the terrifying scene shows what appears to be a man lying lifeless on a stretcher beside an ambulance surrounded by dozens of officers. It remains unclear whether the person pictured is the alleged shooter. We're horrified by the news out of Emory University and praying for the safety of the entire campus community. We stand by ready to assist our law enforcement partners with whatever they may need. Georgia Representative Mike Collins also shared on social media that he's praying for a swift end to this threat. I don't know how true this is, right? Because we just read an article, but someone said the shooting occurred at the CVS across the street. CDC's there and got hit by the stray gunfire. Suspect was barricaded inside the CVS. Where's this fucking guy getting his information from? He just told me more than anyone, and I've been watching local Atlanta news for several hours. And the guy said, literally all information I got on X by typing in Emory in the search bar, saw police outside the CVS on video, went to Street View to verify the same one. Emory University even tweeted that the shooter is at the CVS as soon as it happened. Legacy media is slow and outdated. True! Thank you, random Fox woman picture. That would happen at a CVS, right? There's another one that's closer for hearing the shots. Oh, that is loud. Damn. WSB-TV Atlanta said one officer wounded taken to Emory University Hospital, according to a Grady Memorial Hospital spokesperson. Emory University continues to advise those on scene to shelter in place. That was 52 minutes ago. Audio heard on the police scanner indicates the suspect may possibly be down, not yet confirmed. Emory University says the shelter in place has been lifted. That was 8 minutes ago. It appears the shooter's deceased. Also being reported that the officer shot has since succumbed to their injuries. Oh no. Police have spoken with the shooter's family and are operating under the theory that he was either sick or believed he was sick and blamed the illness on the COVID-19 vaccine, and that the CDC was the target of the shooting, a law enforcement official told CNN. CDC employee told CNN he witnessed a man approach the steps of a building on the CDC campus, place a backpack down, pull out a rifle, and open fire on the building. Ooh, At least 2 buildings at the CDC headquarters in Atlanta were hit by gunfire during the active shooter situation. It's unclear if the shooter targeted the CDC. Yeah, that's always... I mean, that's kind of interesting, right? Like... he's just like, let's shoot the building. I mean, I guess I'm glad that he targeted the building and not people, but it's still just like a really silly thing to do. If he was targeting the CDC, he did a really shitty job. COVID vaccine takes another hit. I guess so, man. I guess so. What's this one? Oh. Oh, what a retard. I didn't even realize this. The person who posted this said, active shooter at Emory University just in time before the new school year. But of course it was going to happen. Time for that timely gun conversation. Let's talk about mental health. What about my Second Amendment rights? And their favorite, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And then someone else came in and said, how about you work on black culture before you take legal guns away from all of us who have to defend ourselves from crime statistics I probably shouldn't repeat. And their response is literally just, how about you shut the fuck up? Yeah, you don't got a real retort to that one, do you, gun grabber? You piece of shit. Deadpool kills people with guns. That was funny. I wasn't expecting that. Active shooter dead. Images from the shooting. Emory University CDC headquarters. Shooter vehicle cannot confirm if the person on the stretcher is a victim or a suspect. Can tell you, EMT would be all over them if it was a victim. Also strange if it's the shooter at the same time. Well, considering they said that only 2 people have been hurt, 1 the officer, 2 the shooter himself, probably is the shooter, but it is safer to say cannot confirm. This is just a car. I can't tell what's going on in this car. Kind of looks like a farmer in the driver's seat, though. And I guess there's the bullet hole in the glass there. Kind of hard to see. A bullet hole in the glass. And we've already seen that image. Shooter went towards a pharmacy. Active shooter scene. What are these videos?
She advised, if PD is advised that the shooter is down, there's no other threat as of right now.
Radio unit 667 on scene with us. The lowest one patient right there.
Have you confirmed or can you confirm with APD that they've apprehended the active shooter?
That was the last information that we got. We're going to get a more of a confirmation. I'm right here with that command post.
Okay. I can't really understand that second video. Oh, it's too hard for me to understand. Another video of during the shooting? Ooh! Damn, that's loud! That person was like, I'm closing my door, I'm going back inside, fuck this shit. Holy fuck.
Go back up. Dude. Well, let's just go drive that way. What's up?
I'm very glad that they were not harmed in this shooting, but little bro here really needs to shave that mustache. It's not doing him any favors, alright? Duck and cover, they're too relaxed. Well, I mean, they're still pretty far away from where it's being shot, so they're fine. Blessings on the family members of the police officers hurt and murdered. Blame Kennedy and Rand Paul for not clamping down on stupidity and radicalization for blaming the CDC gov. Is this guy defending the vaccines? What the fuck? Police shooter and a civilian were taken to Emory University Hospital after a shooting at a CVS near the Emory campus. Suspected shooter is dead. Okay, this is the first time I've seen somebody mentioned besides the shooter. So now that they're reporting both a police officer and a civilian were taken to the hospital, that person on the stretcher could very well be whatever civilian was taken to the hospital and not the suspect. Suspect has been killed after reports of an active shooter. Officer injured, suspect dead in shooting at Emory. Officer killed. Okay, somebody here said officer killed in the CDC shooting. Gunman dead after vaccine-motivated attack. A law enforcement officer has died after responding to a shooting at the CDC Atlanta's campus on Emory University grounds, where the gunman targeted the facility over COVID vaccine beliefs. Did I get the vaccine? No, I'm a pureblood. I was against the vaccine. I was very much, I understand if you have a job and a family to provide for and thus are forced into getting it because our government is tyrannical. But I did not like the way it was pushed, and I felt the more that they clamped down, the more they tried to restrict your freedoms in order to force you into taking it, the less I felt it was a good thing to do. That kind of coercion always makes me very, very hesitant. And so I was like, you know, you can talk to your doctor. I'm a cartoon fox, not a doctor, so you do what's best for you, but I'm not gonna take it.